The first time I saw him, he was laughing, and I almost envied him. Not his laugh, not his happiness, no. I envied the way the world seemed to bend around him, as if it owed him something I never got. My name is Elias, and I'm not proud of what I had to do to survive. But in a world like ours, survival is messy, cruel, and somebody mess requires stepping on hearts. I was 22, an omega with nothing but a wisp of pride and a stomach that never stopped growling. America wasn't the shining beacon they painted in movies. It was sharp, jagged, and hungry. Alphas ruled the streets, the clubs, the networks, and omegas like me had two choices: hide or feed someone else's needs just to scrape by. I met Aaron at a dive bar in Brooklyn, where neon lights flickered like dying stars. He was sitting alone at the end of the bar, a storm of dark hair falling over his forehead, eyes scanning the room with that effortless alpha charisma that made everyone else look like they had forgotten how to breathe. He was older than me 24, but still young enough to make the mistakes I'd been living with. He had that kind of laugh that could draw you out of hiding, even when your bones ached with distrust. I was cold, hungry, and desperate. He caught my eye, smiled, and my chest tightened in a way that wasn't survival instinct, it was dangerous. Instincts told me to flee. My heart told me to stay. But my stomach and my wallet had made the decision long before either listened to my heart. By the end of the night, I had his trust, his laughter, his small, careless touches. I learned where he lived, what he liked to eat, even the exact moment he relaxed after a long day of being the alpha everyone envies. I exploited it all. I told myself it was temporary. I told myself it was survival. But somewhere between his hand brushing mine while reaching for a bottle of whiskey and the quiet look he gave me over the dim light of his apartment, I felt something dangerous bloom, something that had no place in my plans. Aaron was alpha in every way the world respected. Strong, capable, unyielding. But he also had a softness he never offered anyone else. A private corner of warmth I could sense even through the walls of his stoic exterior. And I wanted in. Not just for survival, not just for warmth or protection, but because the world suddenly felt unbearably lonely without him. I remember the night he asked me to stay over. It was raining so hard it felt like the city itself was crying. I told him I couldn't, too much risk, too many eyes, too many secrets. But he didn't push, just leaned closer, the scent of him filling my senses. He murmured, almost casually, "You can't run forever, Elias. Not from me. Not from yourself." The words haunted me, not because I doubted him, but because I knew he was right. I had run from everything before, from people, from places, from feelings. But now, the very idea of running made my chest ache. I wanted him, but I was terrified. I used him, yes. I lied about small things, manipulated situations in my favor, and danced dangerously close to betraying a man who had already begun to trust me more than he should. But it wasn't entirely cruel. Every time I held him close, every time our hands brushed and lingered, I felt the first flicker of something I hadn't known I could feel: hope. Omegaverse in our world wasn't just about biology. It was a hierarchy, a series of invisible chains. Alphas dominated, omegas were prey, often hunted, sometimes protected, rarely loved. Yet Aaron seemed to challenge that norm. He wasn't just an alpha. He was someone who could see me, really see me, without judgment. And the closer I got, the more I wanted to believe in something real. But the past has a way of clinging. My mistakes, my manipulations, my cold survival instincts, they weren't just shadows behind me. They were claws that dug into my heart. Every time he smiled, I felt the weight of my deceit. Every time he let me rest my head on his shoulder, I wondered how long I could keep this up before it all came crashing down. The first spark of intimacy came one night when the city was asleep, and only the rain dared witness. Aaron's hand found mine, fingers intertwining with a patience I didn't deserve. His thumb brushed against my knuckles, a simple gesture, but it set fire to everything I tried to suppress. I leaned into him, heart hammering, stomach twisting, and for a fleeting moment, I forgot survival, forgot manipulation, forgot fear. "Eli," he whispered, voice low and intimate, carrying a weight I couldn't ignore. You don't have to hide with me. Not from me. Not anymore. And just like that, my carefully constructed walls began to crumble. I wanted to stay. I wanted to believe. But fear of being unmasked, fear of being abandoned, fear of loving made my body tense. I pulled away, a small, desperate shake of the head. "Two can't," I stammered. My voice sounded foreign to my own ears, weak and pleading. "Not yet. Not me." Aaron didn't argue. He didn't push. He simply held my gaze, the storm outside echoing the turmoil inside me. "I'll wait," he said softly, a promise and a threat all at once. "But I'm not leaving, Elias. Not ever." And that was the problem. I had no choice but to run. Because staying meant facing myself, facing love, facing a vulnerability I had spent my whole life avoiding. In the days that followed, I skirted his world like a shadow, feeding off scraps of his attention, letting him think we were closer than we were, all while planning my next move to escape. But the heart has its own instincts. No matter how much I tried to manipulate, no matter how much I told myself it was all for survival, my thoughts kept circling him, his laugh, his voice, the warmth of his hand in mine, the way his gaze lingered a second too long. And then the world turned chaotic, as it always does. The streets were no longer safe, the networks of power shifting violently. Alphas who once tolerated each other now hunted, alliances fractured, and in the middle of the chaos, Aaron became a target. Not just because of who he was, but because of who I had become. My past decisions were catching up, threading us together in ways neither of us wanted but could not escape. I remember the night they came for him. Shadows moving too fast, knives glinting in the dim streetlight. My heart stopped, lungs freezing. And without thinking, without strategy, without a plan, I ran straight into the fray. I grabbed him, pulling him behind me, my survival instincts screaming in unison with something deeper, fiercer. "Eli!" he shouted, a mix of fear and disbelief. "What are you?" "Shoo." I cut him off, pressing him against me. "I'm not letting them take you." The world blurred. Rain fell. Screams cut through the night. And for the first time, I realized the truth I had been running from. I wasn't surviving anymore. I was living. And living meant choosing him, even if it destroyed the carefully built cage around my heart. The storm outside mirrored the chaos inside me. Rain slashed against the streets, lightning casting fleeting shadows over the city. But Aaron and I were a world unto ourselves. For the first time, survival wasn't the priority. It was him. Always him. We ran through the alleyways, bodies pressed close, his chest against mine, breathing mingling in the cold air. I had never felt more alive, more vulnerable, or more terrified. Every sound of footsteps behind us was a reminder of the danger that clung to our heels. But with every heartbeat, I realized that the only thing that mattered was keeping him safe. The lies, the manipulation, my past, none of it mattered anymore. "I can't lose you," I whispered, voice almost drowned by the rain. "Not like this. Not ever." Aaron's hand found mine again, fingers entwining with that effortless ease that always made me forget the fear. "Eli, you're not losing me. I'm not going anywhere. You can run from the world, from yourself, from everyone. But you can't run from me." His words were a bomb, a promise, and a challenge all at once. I wanted to collapse into him, let the storm and the world and all the pain wash over me while his arms shielded me. But there was no time. Danger lurked too close. I dragged him further, pushing through the shadows, my senses alive with every movement, every sound. Somewhere between the flickering streetlights and the chaos of the city, I realized that the man beside me wasn't just a person I was surviving with. He was the reason I wanted to live, the reason I wanted more than scraps and shadows. He was my anchor, my storm, my home. We ducked into an abandoned building, wet and shivering, but finally out of immediate danger. The silence was deafening, broken only by the heavy rain outside. I pressed him against the wall, our foreheads touching, breaths mingling. My hands trembled as they cupped his face, memorizing the sharp lines, the softness beneath, the vulnerability he allowed me to see. "I'm sorry," I whispered, almost as if saying it aloud could purge the guilt that had haunted me for years. "For everything. For using you, for running, for not being better." Aaron's lips curved into a faint, understanding smile. "You weren't running from me, Eli. You were running from yourself. But you're here now. That's what matters." And in that moment, I let go. I let go of the fear, the shame, the endless games. I let go of pretending to be someone I wasn't. I leaned into him, letting the warmth of his body seep into mine, letting the world fade away until it was just the two of us, two hearts beating in unison amidst the chaos. Days turned into nights, and nights into tentative mornings. The city outside didn't change. The world remained harsh, cold, and relentless. But inside the small apartment Aaron had offered me, life was different. Safety wasn't guaranteed, but love was. It wasn't perfect, but it was ours. We navigated the delicate dance of Omegaverse society together. His presence made people notice me differently, less prey, more equal, though not without whispers and judgment. And yet, with him, it didn't matter. We faced each sneer, every glance, every challenge together, hand in hand. Aaron had a way of seeing through me that no one ever had. He saw the survival instincts, the walls, the scars etched into my soul, but he also saw the heart beneath. And slowly, ever so slowly, I allowed myself to open up, to trust, to hope. One evening, after a long day of negotiating tensions in the city's underground networks, we sat together on the fire escape, the city lights painting golden streaks across our faces. I leaned my head on his shoulder, inhaling the familiar scent of leather, rain, and him. "Do you ever think about the past?" he asked softly, fingers tracing idle patterns on my arm. "All the time," I admitted, voice quiet, "and I'm scared it'll catch up to us. That it'll ruin this." Aaron tilted his head, brushing wet strands of hair from my face. "The past is part of us, but it doesn't define us. You and me, we define us, and I choose us, every day." Those words anchored me more than any safety net ever could. The weight of guilt lifted, replaced by a fragile but growing certainty. I wasn't alone. I wasn't merely surviving. I was living, loving, and building something that could withstand even the chaos outside. Intimacy grew naturally, slowly. Not just physical closeness, but emotional vulnerability. He learned my fears, my insecurities, the truths I had buried beneath layers of self-preservation. I learned his doubts, the moments when being an alpha felt like a cage rather than power. And in sharing these things, we healed each other, piece by piece. One night, weeks after that first frantic escape in the rain, Aaron pressed his forehead to mine, voice trembling with a mix of fear and certainty. "Eli, I want more than this hiding, this running, this almost. I want us, fully. No walls, no pretenses. Just us." I swallowed hard, heart racing, mind screaming with memories of betrayal, fear, and self-doubt. But as I looked into his eyes, the truth was undeniable. Love isn't about perfection. It's about choosing someone, despite the mess, despite the scars, despite the chaos. I want that too," I confessed, tears streaking my cheeks. More than anything, from that moment we stopped running. Not because the world changed, not because danger vanished, but because we chose each other over fear. Every glance, every touch, every whispered word became a vow. We had survived chaos together, and now we would thrive in love together. Omegaverse society still imposed its rules, still judged, still threatened. But Aaron and I learned to bend them, to navigate them, to protect each other without losing ourselves. And somewhere in the quiet moments between battles and whispered confessions, we found peace. Months passed. Seasons changed. The city continued to pulse with life and danger. But within our little sanctuary, laughter returned, warmth returned, and love, real, messy, human love, bloomed. I no longer measured my worth by survival alone. I measured it by the connection we shared, the trust we nurtured, and the joy of simply being together. One quiet evening, as the sun dipped below the horizon, painting the sky in shades of pink and gold, Aaron held me close on the rooftop of our building. The city spread out beneath us, a chaotic masterpiece, but for the first time, it felt like home. "You stayed," he murmured, fingers brushing my hair. "You didn't run when it mattered most." "I stayed," I replied, voice firm despite the tears threatening to fall. "Because of you. Because I love you." His lips met mine in a soft, lingering kiss, the kind that promises forever without needing words. And in that moment, amidst the wind and the fading light, amidst the echoes of a chaotic world, we found something eternal, each other. No manipulations, no running, just love, messy and imperfect, but ours. And for the first time in my life, I understood that survival was never enough. To truly live, to truly feel, to truly be, you had to choose love. And I chose him. Aaron smiled against my lips, eyes shimmering with the reflection of the sunset. "We're going to be okay, Eli. Together, nothing can break us." And as I rested my head against his chest, listening to the steady rhythm of his heartbeat, I knew he was right. We had faced chaos, deception, fear, and darkness. We had survived. But more importantly, we had found love. And love, I realized, was the strongest survival instinct of all. For the first time, I was home, not in a place, not in safety, but in a person. And that, more than anything, made every risk, every lie, every fear worthwhile. We stayed there until the stars blinked awake, wrapped in each other's arms, whispering soft promises into the night. Outside, the city roared and raged, indifferent. But inside, we were infinite. And in that infinity, I learned what it meant to love and to be loved fully, without running, without pretense, without fear. For the first time, I wasn't just surviving. I was living. With him. Thank you for listening. Don't forget to like and subscribe to stay updated with the latest videos.